Can you talk about the time I know you were very active with leading the Korean church and many things, but then Father asked you to drop all of that and spend 2 years, I think, with him. Can you talk about that time and what was that like, and what did you learn, and
Oh, it was a really amazing time. I think it was probably one of the most blessed times in my life, because we had all these, Father had entrusted everything to us. I was head of the entire World Church, World Mission Department, World UPF, World Youth Federation, World Carb, everything. I mean, Father entrusted everything, to me. And, that's like a massive responsibility. And in doing that kind of work, and you have all these things, you stay busy, whatever, it's easy for you to get sidetracked and lose your relationship with God, or not invest in it. Because you're so busy with all the other activities that are going on, and plus I was leading, Chambokung there, the main church there, in Seoul. So it was just it was like a, whirlwind of activity all the time, And at the same time I was training my Hunsanims. We were doing, spiritual practices from 2:30 in the morning, every single day without, any breaks, any feel, And so it was very kind of a whirlwind kind of time. And also, in those kind of positions, there's always a temptation to believe that you're doing so much work, and that by doing a lot of work, you're actually serving God more. But when Father called me to serve, just be with Him, it was a huge change. Because here now, all of a sudden, I didn't have a schedule, could not make a schedule. I did not have any appointments. I could not schedule anything with people. People wanted to meet me from outside, VIPs or whatever. Couldn't do it, I couldn't go visit families. That was something we did every week. We would visit normal church members, go to their houses, and do fun stuff with them, buy them pizza and stuff like that. I didn't know GMO at the time, but yeah. So, but we couldn't do anything. All that had to drop, and all the big events, all the stuff drop. I had to drop everything. It was at first. It was just time spent just being with Father, because Father's always on the move too. So he's always traveling. He's always going to the States, coming back to Korea. There was a world tour all of a sudden that he scheduled and did. So all those kind of things. But just basically being with Father, going with him fishing constantly, going with him, Las Vegas all the time. So we would be fishing on Lake Mead, or the next day we could be fishing on the Pacific Ocean, But it was always this. So it was very different. And at the time I wasn't a huge fisherman or something like that. And so I would use that time to meditate. So I was like on the boat, I would meditate, or I would just, try to do studies. I'd be in the beginning and just try to get used to this kind of schedule, because it's like a schedule of no schedule. You just have to go at the whim of where Father wants to go, and wherever He's going to go, you have to go. You have no say in the matters. You have to totally surrender to it. So it was an adjustment. It's kind of very taxing. Yeah. At first, it's very mentally taxing, because you don't know what to expect. It's always. But at some point, I just was able to release that, that anxiety or that stress from it, and just totally just ride and flow with Father, and just, instead of, just bickering, complaining, well, I have my schedule and all that, I can't do my work or this and that. What if things can fall apart, whatever. Just let go of it all. None of that really matters. What really matters is being with Father, And so I had just incredible times with Father. When I let go of that, then I could actually be myself. That's when I started showing, like, the different martial arts that I knew, and we would watch the UFC and mixed martial arts together. And, you know, when Father was not on the boat, then we would come back and we would watch martial arts contests and say this, you know. Then I would do demonstrations, and he would make me, tap out and choke out, and all the security guards, things like that. And so, so it really became a tremendous time. It was just like I was spending time with, with Father in such an intimate way. You know, we're bonding in such an intimate way, and I just felt that Father he totally, like I was surprised that he loved the fact that I knew all these I did all these martial arts, and because I had kind of hidden them from the public. I had not shown that I do this. I always wanted to keep them kind of, but Father just totally embraced it, and he just, he just was so excited about it, and when there were like storm warnings and like the government would shut down like the oceans, so you would not be able to go out. I mean, they would do storm or hurricane warnings, and we would be on an island right in the south of Korea, in the middle of nowhere on a tiny island. So then there would be, if there's a hurricane going by, then you can't go out on the ocean. So we'd be stuck indoors, and and then basically we would have already downloaded all these MMA fights and battles, and Father would watch it, and then I would point out things of what they're doing, what they're trying to do, and kind of do commentary, and it was so amazing. It was a really amazing time because I could really bond with Father as father and son, and I had great times, great moments where when we went fishing, when Father would take a nap, I could just go in the cabin with him alone and just lay down and sleep right next to him, watch him. I have wonderful pictures of him, just resting like that, and very, very intimate times that I got to spend with Father. And I think that's, in the end, that was so important because it showed me it's not about religion and making yourself religiously pure and doing all these conditions and all these work and all this stuff. It's not really, in the end, it's not really about that. That's really to show men, or to try to prove to people that you are a good person, right? But what really matters is not religion, but your relationship with God. That's what Father brought me into. He brought me into that relationship with Him. That was beyond the religiosity of Him, Him as a religious leader or religious head or religious pope or religious, it brought me into a real relationship with Him. That was so intimate. It was so real. It was so filled with joy and affection and acceptance and embracing. I mean, all these things that I thought that I could not show as a religious leader. Like mixed martial arts gets really bloody. I mean, it gets really, really bloody, right, when they're fighting. And you do all sorts of nasty stuff, and I just felt, in my image as a religious leader who meditates like hours and hours a day, it just didn't fit, in my own box of my own self-image, And but that just got shattered. It just got liberated, and I was able to embrace that warrior side too. And Father totally embraced it, So that was like amazing. And I believe that is that time that got me through all the tough times after when Father passed and all that craziness happened. It was that relationship that I had with Father that he brought me into that really was able to nourish me in a time of despair and emptiness. When we lost everything. Even our own mother, turned against us and things like this. So, that period of time, I think, is probably the most valuable time that Father ever bestowed upon me. And as his successor and heir, I think, without that understanding, I would just be teaching religion about Brahma, and not relationship. And that's such a massive, 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 massive shift. I would just be teaching theology about Brahma, not the actual person of God, the person of Christ, the person that we're supposed to know and become intimate with and share our lives with. You know. So yeah, I think it was a massive, massive gift that Father, grace that Father gave me.